I'm over at CNBC.com, and the headline says Putin says leaders have agreed on Ukrainian ceasefire. This is 4 days ago, or 4 days ago, and surprisingly, Putin decided to say, you know what? I'm going to have a ceasefire with Ukraine. And as a result, you started to see oil prices go back a little higher. You have to remember that a lot of people were short oil. And for the last 6 months, the price of oil has been going down. Some people are saying that, hey, it has to deal with the US dollar getting stronger. Other theories include, hey, guess what? The United States wants to punish Russia for getting involved in their sphere of influence, such as, number one, trying to play hardball with Ukraine, and then two, trying to protect Russian interests with Syria, while the United States and Saudi Arabia didn't want any war, or did want a war, while Russia said, hey, we don't want a war with Syria. Actually, Putin was actually wiser when it came to that. But now I want to look at why Putin may have actually done that. Why would Vladimir Putin make a deal with Ukraine, even though it may be short term? Why would he do this? And I'm over here at the St. Louis Federal Reserve website. And this article talks about Russian inflation. And we could take a look at some of the graphs right now. And if you can see over here, the CPI inflation, you can see that inflation subsided roughly in 1997, 1998, but then you saw a huge spike up in the inflation rate in 1998. So people may ask, why did this happen? Why was there a huge inflation spike in 1998? You have to remember there were problems in Asian markets. The Thai baht, if those of you remember, there was a currency crisis there, and it spilled all over the world. And one of the places where one currency was targeted was Russia. Part of the reason why they got targeted was they decided to peg their currency to the dollar. Wrong move. So, as a result, the speculators who were betting that the ruble would depreciate, they won the battle. Inflation picked up. You had problems with the stock market, that crashed, this and that. And if you want to look at currency markets, you could also notice that the yen carry trade unwound at that moment. So liquidity came out of the marketplace. And the only liquidity that remained was in the US economy. And if you want to look at another situation, it was the Russian trade balance. And if you look at this graph, which is a little cleaner than the one that I just had opened up, you can see that they're running trade surpluses. When you're running trade surpluses, usually you don't have problems when it comes to the currency markets. You don't have a speculative attack on your currency. That's the rules of finance. But at the end of the day, you have to realize that, hey, if your currency is pegged to the dollar and there are problems all over the world, you could experience problems in your own currency market. This is what happened, right? $1 got you 5 rubles, and all of a sudden, $1 got you 35 rubles. So those individuals that were betting that the ruble would depreciate, those are winners. And you have to always remember that currency pegs are only short-term solutions. They never work. More at Forbes.com right now, and the author is Mark Adomanis. Rostat recently released a bunch of data on inflation through February 9th. It isn't very surprising, but the numbers don't look good. In fact, they look downright awful. Since the beginning of the year, consumer prices in Russia have grown by a full 4.8%. So that's pretty huge. Since the beginning of the year, the inflation has gone up 4.8%. On an annualized basis, you could see that that's close to 5%, somewhere between 50 and 55% inflation. That is extremely high. So you may ask yourself, why did Putin have this ceasefire, since people perceive him to be a tough guy? Well, at the end of the day, does he want to experience a 1998 type Russia default scenario where prices suddenly spiked up, like I mentioned, and in addition to prices going up, you could see the stock market go down? So does Putin want a situation like that? No. And you may say, what does negotiating with the Ukrainians have anything to do with price inflation? That's a good question as well. Well, if you remember in June of last year, oil prices started to go down. As soon as oil prices started to go down, there was an attack on the ruble. There were also whispers that, hey, if Russia continues to go against the interests of the American or the Anglo-American establishment, then there are going to be more consequences for Russia. And one of the warnings that the West, in my opinion, made to Putin was that you continue to mess with us, we're going to drive oil prices down. We're going to make sure that you get out of power. And that was a message to Putin. In addition to that, you had a stronger dollar, which pushed commodity prices down as well. So, not to solely say that oil prices went down just to punish Russia. No, I think there are more factors than that. Putting all of this together, in my opinion, why Putin did what he did last week is he wants to avert the hyperinflation. This is the hyperinflation scare that is probably going down Putin's mind right now. Does he want Russia to wind up like in the 1990s? And my answer is probably not. So Putin doesn't want nasty inflation, so he just gave in to the Ukrainians. That doesn't mean that he could change his mind. He could be. He could be playing mind games right now, for all we know. He could be playing chess. He could be duping the West, for all we know. But in this part of the game, I don't think he wants the inflation to come about. And if he ever does want inflation to come about, he doesn't want it to happen at once, because that would be even more disastrous. People have some time to prepare now. So what do I think about oil in maybe the next few months? Well, until the United States starts raising rates, I think that oil will be on a slight bias to the upside. But we shall see. I could be totally wrong about this. It could go back to $30 a barrel. So, once again, just keep that in mind. And always do your due diligence before investing. So, once again, I believe that this is the hyperinflation scare for Putin. Putin said, you know what? Let's hold off on playing tough with Ukraine. And as a result, we see the oil market starting to go back up right now. We see the dollar taking a little breather. And this, in Putin's opinion, will decrease inflation and have more consumer confidence in the Russian economy. But I could be wrong. I could be misinterpreting this. But anyways, thanks for listening to me, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.